Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and here on my channel I make crystal videos, small business videos, fun vlogs, and more. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe because I put out new videos just about every week. I know I say I put out new videos every week, but the past month I've been slacking. Life has really been happening and things have just been a little crazy and stressful, so I haven't really gotten around to it. I'm hoping to get back on track now. I will be posting every week again. And a quick announcement before we get into today's crystal chat video is I made a second channel. This is something I never thought I would do since my channel already is so small, but I decided that I really wanted to separate my business and my personal videos a little bit. I feel like I've just gotten a little too intertwined with my business, and it feels like a good step for me to separate things a little bit. So any personal videos going forward, like the vlogs, traveling, baking things, is all going to be on the new channel. So I'll have that link down below if you want to subscribe. And at some point in the near future, all the personal videos from this channel will be deleted and moved on to the other channel. So that means that this channel is just going to continue to be strictly crystal related, small business related. This channel is going to stay pretty much the same that it has been for a while. Personal videos will just be somewhere else. So let's just get into it. Today's crystal chat video is going to be all about bumblebee jasper. Bumblebee jasper was first discovered in the 90s in West Java, Indonesia, near a volcano. I will list the name of the volcano here because I can't pronounce it. And this is the only place in the world that bumblebee jasper is found. It is only found in Indonesia, which makes it a pretty special and rare stone. So the first thing to note about bumblebee jasper is that it is actually not a jasper at all. Like we discussed in my agate, jasper, and chalcedony video, a jasper is an opaque microcrystalline variety of quartz, and bumblebee jasper actually contains no quartz at all. A more accurate name for this crystal would be bumblebee stone, which I do see some people calling it that, but it is most commonly known as bumblebee jasper, so that's what I'm just going to continue to call it throughout this video. So if it's not jasper and it's not made of quartz, what exactly is bumblebee jasper made of? As you can see, bumblebee jasper is a colorful, layered stone with layers of yellow, orange, gray, and black. Like I said, bumblebee jasper is formed near a volcano, and it includes volcanic sediments in its composition. So bumblebee jasper is a sedimentary stone, and it is composed mostly of calcite. It contains fibrous calcite as well as limestone, which is a sedimentary calcium carbonate rock composed of either calcite or aragonite, both of which are calcium carbonate. I have some palm stones in my shop right now that really showcase this fibrous calcite versus limestone really well. So you can see the gray limestone with the fibrous yellow colored calcite banding. However, this fibrous calcite is not something I see within every piece of bumblebee jasper. So while every piece does contain calcite, you might not always see this fibrous structure so clear. This crystal gets its vibrant yellow-orange color from a mineral called realgar. Realgar is an arsenic sulfide mineral, so this means bumblebee jasper does contain arsenic and sulfur. It may also contain a mineral called orpiment, which is also an arsenic sulfide mineral that is very often formed alongside realgar. Bumblebee jasper gets its dark colors from manganese oxides, pyrite, and hematite. Bumblebee jasper contains quite a few different minerals and types of sediment, so each piece is going to vary in its appearance depending on the amounts of these different minerals. Bumblebee jasper has a hardness of about 4 on the Mohs scale of hardness, so it's pretty soft. Even in polished pieces, I will see the yellow parts be a little bit crumbly sometimes. That's because this is the realgar sections, and realgar has a hardness of 1.5 to 2. So this crumbling is to be expected. There's a lot of debate around if bumblebee jasper is even safe to buy or wear due to its arsenic and sulfur content. Some sellers don't even feel comfortable selling it to people and warn people to stay away and don't touch this stone. Normally, I'm on the side that I think there is a lot of fear-mongering around crystals that are deemed as dangerous because of the elements they contain, and people cast really harsh judgments on them and say never use them, never touch them, they're gonna poison you, and people avoid these crystals entirely. For example, malachite has gotten a really bad reputation for being toxic, or that it releases poisonous fumes when it gets wet, and people are scared to even use it just because it contains copper in its structure. When in reality, malachite is perfectly safe to handle. It's even fine to rinse underwater. It is not going to release any toxic gas, no poison, it's not going to kill you. I think people get a little carried away, but bumblebee jasper is one of the few crystals that I actually recommend taking precautions when handling, especially in its raw form. I know saying this may scare some people away from bumblebee jasper and make you want to avoid it entirely, and that's totally your choice, but I personally do believe bumblebee jasper is totally safe and fine to work with and even wear when you're handling it correctly. I'm wearing bumblebee jasper. I sell bumblebee jasper. It's been one of my favorites for years. I sell it in my shop. I think it's perfectly safe to work with as long as you are knowledgeable about how to handle it and what not to do. So how can you stay safe while working with this stone? As with many other stones, the biggest danger comes from cutting it, polishing it, carving it, where these crystal dust particles can get in the air and you can inhale them. Even crystals that don't have toxic elements within them, such as quartz, can be very dangerous when inhaled. I would avoid cutting or carving or polishing bumblebee jasper, and if you do need to carve or cut bumblebee jasper, I would take the proper precautions in a well-ventilated area with a mask, gloves, whatever lapidary people do. This is one stone that you really don't want to get wet. It can make it easier for these elements to leach out of the stone into the water, to get in your skin and be ingested. I would just avoid any water when it comes to bumblebee jasper. If you have a raw piece of bumblebee jasper or even a tumble stone that is a little bit crumbly in those yellow spots, I would recommend keeping those away from water and washing your hands thoroughly after handling it. I do have a piece of raw bumblebee jasper. I'm not even sure where it came from. I don't touch it often. I would just avoid raw bumblebee jasper, but in its polished form, it is much safer. Most pieces of bumblebee jasper are very well polished, therefore there is little risk from simply touching it or keeping it on your shelf. It is safe to handle and hold thoroughly polished bumblebee jasper, so don't be scared if you have been holding a palm stone, you keep a tumble in your pocket, wearing it. So while bumblebee jasper does technically contain these toxic elements, you would need to get a lot of it in your system for it to really cause you any harm, and you are just not going to get these amounts in your body through just holding a polished stone. You would really have to be eating it or breathing it in. It is even safe to wear bumblebee jasper jewelry, especially if it's something like a pendant that has a metal backing where it's not directly touching your skin. If you do choose to wear bumblebee jasper, just avoid getting wet while you're wearing it, and if it starts to crumble or crack in any way, I would just stop wearing it. And sometimes I forget to mention this because I forget that people actually do it, but do not drink any water that bumblebee jasper or any crystal has been in. Crystal elixirs in general are really bad, and bumblebee jasper is probably one of the worst stones that you could put in one and consume. It is also a good idea to keep this stone away from pets or children who may want to put it in their mouth. For cleansing the energy of your bumblebee jasper, obviously I would recommend you don't cleanse it with water or salt. I think the safest way to cleanse your stone would be by setting it on selenite, which cleanses the energy of any stone, or using a smoke cleansing method. Now, I saw an interesting question online while I was researching fake bumblebee jasper and stuff like that. Sometimes I see random people asking other creators a question, and I take it upon myself to answer that question, even though the person who asked it will probably never see it. I just think it's interesting. So the person asked, if other crystals with a bright yellow color also contain these toxic elements and precautions need to be taken when handling them, such as bright yellow mookaite jasper. They were concerned since bumblebee jasper is a yellow jasper that's toxic and mookaite jasper is a yellow jasper. Is that also toxic? So, like we already debunked, bumblebee jasper is not a genuine jasper. Mookaite jasper is a genuine jasper. So really, they don't actually have anything in common? And the answer is no. Other bright yellow stones don't contain arsenic and sulfur. Most of them, at least. There are other elements that can be included in a crystal that can create this bright yellow color that are not toxic at all. For example, iron inclusions create a bright yellow color in crystals such as golden healer. Sulfur and arsenic are pretty uncommon to be found in crystals, especially the most popular ones on the market, so you don't really need to be concerned about those. Some other yellow crystals that are perfectly safe to work with and don't contain any of these toxic elements are golden healer, citrine, yellow calcite, honey calcite, and yellow aventurine. There are very few crystals, especially in the crystal metaphysical world, that could possibly cause any harm to the user because of the elements that are within it. So just know that bumblebee jasper is an outlier in this aspect, and this isn't something you have to be concerned with most of the crystals in your collection. So at the end of the day, while bumblebee jasper does technically contain toxic elements, with proper precautions, it doesn't cause any harm or risk to the average user. As long as you are cutting and polishing it without the proper safety measures or consuming it, you will be perfectly fine. If it helps ease your mind, there are no cases of anyone ever being poisoned or killed by bumblebee jasper. I don't think it would be so readily available on the market if it was really causing major harm to people. I personally love bumblebee jasper. It has always been one of my favorite crystals, but if you choose not to work with it because of these risks, that is totally up to you. So let's talk about fake bumblebee jasper, or crystals being mislabeled as bumblebee jasper when there's something else. While researching fake bumblebee jasper, I did see a couple people talking about a flashlight test where you hold the stone up with a flashlight behind it to see if it is transparent or not. Now, remember that real, genuine jasper is an opaque microcrystalline quartz, meaning you won't be able to see through it with a flashlight. However, that information is kind of meaningless in this conversation because, as I mentioned, bumblebee jasper isn't a jasper, and it contains little, if any at all, quartz. So holding your stone up to the light and seeing if it's transparent or not doesn't really mean anything here. I tried this test on a couple pieces in my collection, and some of the thinner pieces I could see through with the flashlight in the yellow sections, but something like a tumble, you wouldn't be able to see through it. So these are the two thin little pieces that I was able to see with the flashlight. I could see through them in the yellow sections. I suppose maybe what's trying to be tested here is if it's a genuine jasper, so not bumblebee jasper, then it would be opaque and you wouldn't be able to see through it at all. So if you can see through it at all, then that means it is bumblebee jasper. But when I promote a test or do a test myself to determine if a crystal is real or mislabeled or whatever, I really like it to be clear and concise what exactly is being tested here, and this just feels a little vague and unhelpful. When it comes to bumblebee jasper, I just think the easiest way to identify it is by its appearance. I rarely ever see fake or mislabeled bumblebee jasper, but here are a couple things to look out for. Occasionally, bumblebee jasper will be confused with other stones like maligano jasper, which is also from Indonesia. A good way to tell the difference between bumblebee jasper and something like maligano jasper, which is a true jasper, would be the scratch test. However, in this situation, things are a little tricky. Like we discussed earlier, bumblebee jasper does contain toxic elements. And the most dangerous aspect of working with bumblebee jasper is the cutting, carving, and polishing, where you could possibly inhale crystal dust, which can be really dangerous, and that's how those elements would get into your system. That being said, I can't really recommend a scratch test in this situation because that could result in bumblebee jasper crystal dust that could get on your hands, you could breathe it in, and that could be potentially harmful. Now with a scratch test, I'm sure the dust produced would be minimal, especially if you're being cautious and taking proper precautions with gloves or a mask and being very careful with it to wash your hands afterwards. But I just don't recommend it, and I don't think you necessarily need to do it. But if we were to do a scratch test on bumblebee jasper, here's what we could expect to see. Like I mentioned, bumblebee jasper is pretty soft since it's calcite based. It is usually around a 4 on the Mohs scale of hardness, whereas a genuine jasper, which is quartz based, is going to be a lot harder at a 6.5 to 7. So a genuine jasper like a maligano jasper would be able to scratch something like a bumblebee jasper. I have also seen crazy lace agate get mislabeled for bumblebee jasper since they do have very similar colors. However, with crazy lace agate, any banding within the stone is typically going to be a lot smaller. It won't have big wide stripes like bumblebee jasper does. The pattern on the stone may also be kind of unpredictable, hence the name crazy lace agate, and it may have colors that bumblebee jasper does not normally have, such as grays, whites, and reds. And usually with crazy lace agate, it is not as vibrant in yellow as bumblebee jasper would be, but a good quality crazy lace agate and a low quality bumblebee jasper I feel like could be easily confused. Here's an example of an unfortunate mislabeling situation where this stone in the picture is not bumblebee jasper, but it is being sold as such. This stone is absolutely not bumblebee jasper. It is a brown calcite. The stone pictured looks exactly like these brown chocolate calcites that I got from a supplier in Pakistan, and they are not bumblebee jasper. Like I said, bumblebee jasper only comes from Indonesia. This stone comes from Pakistan. I'm not sure if it comes from other locations, but this is definitely the material that is pictured there. While bumblebee jasper is calcite based, that does not mean that all yellow and brown calcites are bumblebee jasper. This is a situation where knowing the location of your stones is very important. On this listing, it describes this brown calcite stone as being very dangerous to touch and super toxic, and you have to be very careful with it, which is true of bumblebee jasper, but I promise you that this brown calcite is no danger. It does not contain the arsenic and sulfur that bumblebee jasper does. Even though it has a bit of a yellow color, there are a lot of other things that can create that color within a stone. So just because it is also a brown and yellow calcite does not mean it's bumblebee jasper, and it is not harmful. At first, I was so baffled when I saw this listing because I didn't know how anyone could see it as bumblebee jasper. But now when I look at them side by side, I can kind of see where people would be coming from. I mean, the colors are very similar, but the banding on this calcite is a lot smaller. The yellow is not nearly as vibrant as on bumblebee jasper. I also noticed on bumblebee jasper, there's a lot of like almost chevron pattern stripes. It's not as straight and parallel as a normal calcite would be. So you can definitely clearly see the difference, but now that I'm looking at the two, I can see how it's getting confused. So just keep an eye out for this. I don't see this being labeled as bumblebee jasper very often, but just something to keep an eye out for. So like I said, most bumblebee jasper can be identified just by its appearance alone. You don't need to do any crazy tests. Normal to high quality bumblebee jasper will have a banding of yellow and or orange, gray, sometimes black. Sometimes bumblebee jasper can even have an orb appearance, like this really cool piece that I have. This is one of my favorites. I love bumblebee jasper with orbs. While researching, I did not see a single man-made or completely fake bumblebee jasper out there on the market, aside from how to create a faux bumblebee jasper stone out of clay. Like I've said about clay recreations before, this isn't something you have to worry about on the market. Usually people who are creating clay crystals or faux crystals of any kind are not trying to pass these off as genuine stones. They're usually just for art. They're very beautiful, but it's not something you're gonna have to worry about getting fooled with clay crystals out there on the market. And that's really the only thing I did see about totally fake bumblebee jasper. But just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But I think when it comes to bumblebee jasper, there aren't many fakes. There's only a couple of stones it gets mislabeled for, like the crazy lace agate, Maligano jasper. When it comes to quality of bumblebee jasper, there's kind of a wide range of types of pieces you will see on the market. High quality pieces will have a vibrant yellow and orange color with very distinct banding or those orb patterns that I showed you. Personally, I prefer pieces that have black in them as well for that strong bumblebee contrast, but a lot of high quality pieces are just yellow and orange. So it kind of depends on preference there. Personally, I like the ones with contrast. No matter what your preferences are, a high quality piece should be vibrant in color and have minimal gray. A low quality stone may look muddy with a very dull yellow color mixed in with the gray, and really low quality pieces will just mostly be gray and black with very little yellow at all. While bumblebee jasper is really rare since it only comes from one location, it shouldn't be outrageously expensive. I do think the price has gone down significantly since a few years ago when it was kind of newer and hot on the market. High quality pieces will still be a little pricey, but it's definitely not crazy priced compared to some other rare stones. So for example, this piece I got here, I got in Sedona, and it was $70. These pieces in my shop, I think are $12 or $15. This little piece I also got in Sedona was $26. And tumbles I usually see around the $5 to $10 range. They're a little pricier than more common tumbles, but they still should not be outrageously expensive. This is a pretty average quality piece, especially for anything lower quality than this. It shouldn't be crazy expensive. So let's talk about the spiritual and metaphysical properties of bumblebee jasper. Bumblebee jasper is associated with the sacral and solar plexus chakras. This is a great stone to energize you and bring positive energy into your day. Bumblebee jasper promotes creativity of all sorts and helps push you closer to your goals and life's purpose. This is the best stone for coming up with fresh ideas and new solutions to your problems. It is great for getting the energy in your body moving again, which allows negativity or blocks within your body to be dissolved. Bumblebee jasper provides you with the courage and confidence to handle the day and work towards your goals. Bumblebee jasper is a great stone for if you're feeling down or lost in life, as it brings you optimism and motivation. This stone can help you get a fresh start when you're feeling stuck. Bumblebee jasper is a great stone for working with others and keeping an open mind to what other people have to say. It can bring a sense of positivity and connection to a difficult environment. So that's all I have to say for you today about bumblebee jasper. Let me know your thoughts about bumblebee jasper down below. Is this a crystal you would keep in your collection, or are you staying away from the arsenic? Be sure to also comment down below and let me know what crystal you would like to see me talk about in my next crystal chat video or any other video ideas you have for me. It really helps me out to make content that you guys want to see, so I am open to all of your suggestions. Be sure to check out my crystal shop, cosmicgeology.com. You can use code YouTube for a discount on any order at any time. I just recently, in the past month, added a bunch of new crystals to my shop. I have a big variety available right now, so definitely check it out if you're looking for some crystals. I also have fun other things like art, notebooks, lots of jewelry, so give it a look. It'll be linked down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.